Hello all, welcome to our latest edition of Big Game Players with myself, Super, and my co-host, Banjo. How are we doing,
Hello.
Banjo?
Yeah, all very well, thank you. All good. How are you? I
You
believe
been
you're
well?
not. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Can't complain. I believe you're not in England, not in the
No,
country. So,
no, totally committed. Filming from sunny Crete as we speak.
oh, lovely.
I'm a couple of cocktails in, so
Oh, wow.
excuse any misdemeanors or I'd apologise in advance for any
So, are
behaviour.
you promising us a lively show then?
A lively show as always. Banjo, week of
Yeah,
football.
yeah,
I think it's only apt that we kick off with the biggest news in football over the last week.
yeah.
Diogo Jota.
Ah, just incredibly sad. It really is. It's one of those stories where you hear for the first time and it takes time to process it. It's almost like, have I just heard or seen what what I'm being told here, basically? And it's just no, it's very sad. Uh, what do you say? Just an absolute shock. Very sad. Newly married, has a
I was
young
going to say
family.
beyond football, right? So it's not just
No, of
Liverpool
course.
lose a player and I'm a
No,
Liverpool
no, no,
fan.
no, no, no,
It's
no.
not. We've lost a
No,
player here. It's
it,
28-year-old man.
yeah, as I said, newly married, young family. Um, has had everything ahead of him, really. And it's just incredibly sad. And I think we do have to mention that his brother passed away with him,
Yeah,
tragically. And you can't imagine what the family would be going through. And when I do say family, I mean, obviously, their wives, girlfriends. I don't know what his brother's situation was, but the children, but also their parents. Just to lose two sons like that is just incredibly sad. And like you say, it goes beyond football. It goes beyond football, but obviously we know him or we know of him because of football. Yourself, it must be difficult seeing him almost every week at Anfield, and yeah, just very sad news, and yeah, not
yeah. Look, Diogo Jota, a player we signed from Wolves a few seasons ago. He was phenomenal. It was a front three we had. The strength in depth at the time wasn't. It was okay, but it wasn't particularly great. We had like Salah, Mane, Firmino, and there wasn't anyone to really push them boys. It was almost like them boys knew they were going to start every week. And then
yeah,
Diogo came along. It shook things up a bit. They knew now there was a player there more than capable of stepping in. I mean, a lot of comparisons were made best finisher since Robbie Fowler. And there was a time when, there was a chance people to pick Jota over Salah to take it away. I don't think he had his best season last season, but always stop start with injuries with Jota. But
yeah. I think that's what it is. I think from the outside, obviously not a Liverpool fan, but actually I had him in my fantasy football, and
okay,
so obviously you take an interest, and it was his finishing which really impressed me. He was one of those players where you knew if he was playing or if he got on that pitch, very likely he's going to score. It was like that. I know last season wasn't his best season, but I think he still got a few important goals, didn't
yeah, but there was one against Forest
he? Yeah,
where obviously Tsimikas crossed it and Jota scored that. But on the whole, but like I said, it was a sad, and but the good thing is football comes together in moments like that.
yeah, of course.
And my
Almost I see things on social media where people like United fans, rivalry aside, rest in peace. Sometimes I think it's not necessary to even say that. Why do you even have to say rivalry aside, or why do you have to make that point?
yeah,
He's a human being, at the end of the day, you express how you feel, and you know you say what you want to say. But I don't think you really need to mention anything to do with football.
I mean, some of the things that stand out for me are Aces, obviously, with their own tribute.
Yeah, that was a good touch from them.
That was all over social media. I see the Everton players going. There was a couple of Everton players that went to pay their respects. An interesting one. I don't know how true or not, but I've seen something going around actually. Seamus Coleman rocked up at 11:15 in the evening on Friday, and a fan saw him, and a Liverpool fan went and said, thanks for coming over, lad." And Seamus apparently turned around and said, "No, no, no, I had to come." He goes, "And I wanted to come at a time where there weren't going to be cameras everywhere." And
Yeah,
and I think following on from that, I think the one that I understand about media and everything, but Jordan Henderson,
he went.
but arriving there with cameras in his face, kneeling, paying his respects, might have even been saying a little prayer or something. Camera right in his face, really?
Unfortunately, that's the world we
Someone not
live in.
even pay their respects now without,
Yeah,
and
but
and I,
that
and I think that's why obviously the funeral was held soon after the Liverpool players, coaches flown, gone over there. Henderson's gone over there. Not all the players are there, from what I gather, or went there, but as many as physically could did.
yeah.
Ronaldo wasn't there, and again, people making a big song and dance. But again, I'm reading. He said, "I didn't want it to become about me."
And it would have done. Let's be honest, it would have done. He's
It
got something
would.
like 660 million followers on Instagram. He's one of the most famous people in the world. And unfortunately, like you say, with the media, they want a story. They're not. Then there's no actual consideration. Like when Jordan Henderson was paying his respect and obviously emotional at the same time, there was no actual thoughts of give him his moment.
Yeah.
Let this be, a moment of just for him without making it, a new story. But it will be, and they've done that, and that would have been the case with Cristiano Ronaldo as well, which is very, very difficult, and not, that could have made more of the news than the actual funeral. And it's just horrible that that's the way of the world now. People just want content. People just want to sensationalize things, and stories are better than reality. But
I mean, I noticed Bruno Fernandes was there, I
yeah, he
believe.
was there. But of
Um,
course, these guys,
Neves,
they're friends.
Neves,
Yeah,
a great gesture from Liverpool, like, saying they're going to pay up the last 2 years of his contract, and
yeah.
make sure that the boys go through sort of education and what have you not. So, and Neves coming out and saying that family won't be found wanting for anything, but like I said, it's really great when you see the football world come together. But sadly, we've lost a 28-year-old man who he wasn't done. He still had years. He still had stuff
Ultimately,
to do.
ultimately, that's it. Forget the football. Forget the actual football. He's newly married, a very, very young family, and same with his brother as well. We have to make that point.
Yeah,
Um, you know, they had the future there ahead of them, and obviously at young age, both of them. I think his brother was 26. Diogo Jota was 28, and just too young, way too young, and tragic, and it was an absolute shock.
yeah. I'll tell you one thing, Anfield on the 15th of August, that's going to be rocking. It's going to be rocking. That game will be about Jota. I'm going
And
to
it,
be at that game,
yeah,
and
and it should be.
it'll be about him. And I can see the boys putting on a show that day. I don't know how it's
I
going to
think,
affect Liverpool in the coming season. We'll talk about that maybe in another episode. But
um, I think the thing with the life and football, it continues, and however um, horrible and upsetting it will be that he won't be there training with them, playing with them, um, just amongst their, being there, in their company. Um, I actually think, like you said, we'll touch on it later on maybe, but I actually think it might inspire Liverpool
yeah,
throughout the season.
But those boys are going to need some their own counselling, their own, just support.
Yeah, I think
They've lost a teammate, they've lost a friend.
yes, and on top of that, I think that there'll be there'll be a group of them all supporting each other. I'm sure.
Yeah. Sad news. Sad
Very,
news.
very.
We move on. Gyokeres.
Yeah.
I had to bring it up because I don't know if it was in the show last week, but if it wasn't, certainly on one of our social media groups, I'm going to let our audience know. Banjo actually said, "Lock it in," about 4 days ago. Lock it in. Gyokeres is going to be a Man United player, and then
I,
literally 2 days later, reported that he's as good as signing for Arsenal.
the reason I said that, it was a theory, and the reason I did say that was because
Deluded?
um, sorry,
You're deluded?
no, it wasn't been deluded. I actually believed Arsenal were going to get Sesko. I didn't think they were going to give up on that one. I thought that was the number one choice, and I think it was. And I didn't. I actually thought that would go. That transfer would be processed. That would go through. So then, obviously, I thought then Gyokeres' next choice would have been United, or only choice. So I just thought the path will be clear for United to go and take him. But obviously, Arsenal's moved on from their first choice and gone straight to Gyokeres, and it looks like they're quite deep into that process of making that happen. As I'll be honest, as a fan, it wasn't so much that I really wanted him.
Well,
I'm not
you're
saying
going to say that
I'm not
now,
saying
aren't
I didn't. No, no,
you?
no, no. I'm not. No, I'm not saying I didn't want him, but it was just a theory that I thought it'll come.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do think
another
there's a
reminder that Man U may be not the pulling force that you
no,
think
but
they once
listen,
were.
no, but there's this. They are a few years ahead of us in terms of the team they are. So there's no. I've got no problem saying that he chose them above us or ahead of us. I don't even were we even in the race? This is the thing.
Well,
Wolves
you
didn't.
were you were probably back of the queue hoping that it would
Yeah, it was maybe hope, seeing what happens,
it
then
would
maybe hope. Yeah.
get
So
there.
I don't think there was a direct choice or anything like that. But he clearly wanted to go to Arsenal, and that's fine. And it's happened. But now we move on. Time would. But what the thing I do say, I don't think he'll be as good. The Premier League is a different competition from the the Portuguese league, and if he scored 50 there or 95 or something like that in 2 seasons, that's phenomenal. That's great. The one thing going for Arsenal, even if he dips and his goal scoring goes from say 50 to 20, that's still good.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we'll see. Time will tell. But yeah, that looks like that's getting done. Mendy has finally signed, I believe.
What about the surprise one that's come up? Madueke.
Yeah, but it
I've
surprised
seen
me.
another. I mean, I'm seeing reports that Chelsea need to sell now
Yeah, they
because they
do.
can't register
They do.
Gittins.
It's
But
ridiculous the way they're doing business. But
is Gittins really that much better than
no, well, this is what I'm saying.
Madueke?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, but listen, be interested to know what Arsenal fans do think of that potential signing. He's a good player, um, but they were linked with Eze, and I think that would have excited me a lot more.
I think
A lot more.
if I remember rightly, Madueke had a really good game against Wolves early in the season, scored four that day, if I'm not mistaken. But I do know that Maresca and him, there was a bit of they didn't really see eye to eye at times. But I think
That
Maresca
could be.
didn't like lack of consistency there.
Mm,
Um, I think he quite openly said there were times when he felt he'd scored his goal in the game, and that was his job done.
I do.
Rather than keep going.
Well,
I mean, obviously scored four that day, which was fantastic.
was
But
that not enough for Maresca? but this is it. This is it. Maybe Arsenal, got some certain knowledge of maybe that the relationship between the player and the manager is not great. They also are aware that Chelsea need to sell
But,
PSR reasons, so
but
they
why would
may well.
Arsenal sign him? Player that plays off the right. Saka's there. I'm assuming you're going to play Saka over Madueke.
Do you know? Yeah, of course you will. But
And then
also,
Waneri.
yeah, well, I'll go on to him in a minute. But the thing is, you have to be aware as well. Arsenal lost Saka for a few games last season, and it made a massive difference. And if they really want to go to that next level, then they need players to. It's a squad game, isn't it?
But
Not saying
Madueke's
Madueke
not
won't
going to
get his
go
game.
there to sit on the bench.
No, but he's not going to. He probably won't. He'll probably get his games. He will get his games. But he might. You don't know. Can he play off the left? This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
They might want a bit of a variety. They've got Champions League. They've got the Premier League. I mean, Arteta does believe they're the best in Europe, so he actually thinks maybe this is the signing which would actually confirm it.
Last
But going
season,
back, I
last
want
season
to.
he thought they were the best. And
Yeah,
you know what?
well,
Inter Milan were lucky because, yeah,
well.
had they played Arsenal in that final, it might not have only been five, according to Arteta. Yeah.
I've got something to ask you though. Reports are coming out that Ranieri is not too happy at the moment, and he wants assurances before he signs a new deal. What do you think about that?
Figures an
18,
agent playing a blinder and getting his client more money.
18-year-old boy.
Yeah, well,
Should he be making demands?
they all want more
Or,
money, don't they, these days? I mean, the
or
game that's where the game's at.
I
Players think,
think, uh,
he came in, he did a decent enough job in, and he's got loads of potential, obviously, Nwaneri. So
my
I,
belief is these players need to knuckle down, get their position in the team before they start thinking of much else, or
okay.
make before they're making demands. But anyway, let's see.
And confession time.
From you, I hope.
I made
Because your theory was
well,
if you're gonna go down the road of Gyokeres, you need to put your hand up here.
well,
I mean
we
there
filmed,
was
and it was
there was
interesting because we filmed, and it was
yeah.
literally. I think it might have been announced either during filming
Yeah,
or
I think my phone flashed up
within a
while
couple of
while you were making the theory. You might have even made your theory after it flashed up
well, yeah.
of
So yeah,
the
Pedro.
breaking news.
I thought
Come
he
on,
was going to go to
Newcastle,
Newcastle and Isaac, but look,
and Isaac was going to go to Liverpool.
there's
But
stuff going on there.
he
I'm
went
seeing
to Chelsea
he's gone to
while
Chelsea,
you were spitting out that
but they are
sentence.
signing Elanga.
Yeah, but Alanga plays off the right. He'll play. He'll be sharing that position with Murphy.
So Elanga, they are signing Elanga. We'll see. We'll see. Isaac, I'm convinced if Liverpool don't buy a nine this summer, just watch that space for the next season.
Oh, here we go.
For
He's
the
buying
next 12
himself
months.
time. He's
Just
buying himself time.
just watch the space.
So you just cannot be wrong.
Well, I'm not saying I can't be wrong. I was obviously wrong in the theory, because Pedro's a Chelsea player. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in the next week there. Other news. Other news. While we're on transfers, let's look at maybe Spurs here.
Yeah.
Kudus, the
Hmm.
latest name to be thrown into the hat.
I've spoken to a few Spurs fans regarding this, friends, and it doesn't excite them. I can understand why. Last season was quite a poor season for him, wasn't it? And I think 60 million is probably a lot of money for what he showed last season. It is a lot of money. But having said that, he signed. I think they signed him for 45 million, and his stock's obviously gone up since that. But
He had a
what do
really
you?
good first season, didn't he? There.
I
I
had a
mean,
brilliant.
Liverpool were linked at one stage, and he had a
Yeah,
really, really good season there.
he did,
Kudus.
but
I
he did.
think. I
It's
think West
worrying though.
Ham. They were in between managers last year.
Yeah,
Potter's come in with his own ideas. maybe hasn't quite gelled yet there. He's got half. He feels clearly he's going to be too good for West Ham.
Yeah.
Um, so he's going to go join a team that were slightly below West Ham in the league, but they did win the Europa. So, but no, I think that will be. I like him as a player. I like him. He's direct.
Yeah,
A
I've
lot.
seen some good stuff the season
And
before, especially. But I just think it's a gamble. I think it's one of those. I think Spurs are in a similar situation as Man United in the sense of they haven't got much room for error in making signings. I think that, that I know you cannot be 100% sure of any player who comes in. Don't care who it is, but you've got to diminish the element of risk. I think, and I think there's a lot of risk with Kudos based
okay,
on last season's performance. Spurs need to improve. Simple as that. I know they've
yeah,
made a change in the manager, but they need to improve. Clearly, what they've got on the field is not good enough.
yeah.
I mean, to finish where they finished 17th, come on. So my he might sign, and he might be an outstanding signing if he's anything like the first season. But I just think there's an element of risk, and I'm not sure Spurs are in a position where they
What
can they can
what
take risks.
what's going on with Eze then? Is he staying at
So
Palace?
that's the one. I have a feeling he will move on, but it's going to take an incredible offer.
Well, when he
It,
comes back
he's the one.
from Richard Branson's island where he's been playing chess.
Yeah, but he's an incredible talent. See, now that is a player. If Arsenal were to go for him or Spurs were to go for him, that for me that'd be a game-changing signing.
Is
Really good
time
player.
is time running out for this guy to make a move?
Well, I think it was yes and no. I think it was difficult last season. I don't think he could have moved on because Alisi moved on, didn't he? I think it would have been really.
Yeah, but
I don't think Paris were ever going to let both of them go. And Alisa went to Bayern Munich, and I think now's the time for Eze. I think he
is he
does need
going?
to move
Where's
on.
he going?
You
Arsenal, Arsenal are getting Madueke. Tottenham are
well,
getting
well, this is what surprised me. This
Tottenham
is
are
what
talking
surprised
about
me.
Kudus. Where's Eze
Yeah,
going?
this is what surprises me. Why are either of those two teams not going for him? Not doing everything
Man
they
City in
can.
the mix. I don't know. Man City in the mix.
I think there was a rumor at the end of the season with Man City. Do you know what? If it's not going to be Arsenal and if it's not going to be Spurs, probably will be City. If he will move, it probably will be City.
Not United.
I don't think United's in for him anyway. I don't. I think United's got. They're trying to shape their forward line. They've got Kuna now. I think they're and Remo is. They're going to step that. Apparently, according to reports, they're going to step that up this week, and then that's it. They're not going to sign
We're
another.
still hoping, is it, that someone else comes in?
No, he's made it very clear he wants to be at United.
Okay.
Yes, it's just a matter of the structure of the fee. That's all it is.
Any other news from United?
No, just what's been in the news. They started their pre-season today. They returned, and Anthony, Rashford, Sancho, Ganacho, Malacia.
All there?
No, they've all
Oh,
been
none of
told.
them are there.
No, they've all been told that they've got an extended holiday. I
To
think I think the idea is
find a new club.
basically United have said that all five of them, I think it's five of them, have actually made it clear that they want to leave. I don't know I don't know if they all actually said, yeah, I want to leave, or if it's United actually just putting that out there because they just don't want them involved in training. Why they don't want to integrate them with the squad? It's. I think Ruben Amorim probably would have wanted them gone by now.
Seen
They're
Onana
not.
reported.
Yeah, no, I think no. Listen, I don't think that's. I mean, listen, we could do with a new goalkeeper, but I don't think that's top of the
Two,
list.
two players.
Rashford's shirt's gone to Kuna,
Okay.
so
Two
he's lost his number 10 shirt.
Two players, yay, nay, maybe.
Okay.
Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, I'll take him. Definitely.
No, is it happening? Is it a no?
Oh,
Is it a maybe?
um,
Would it be a
maybe.
United player? Yes, no, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. You take him. Well, you take anyone at the moment, Banjo. You've been telling us for weeks, so
Yeah, I would. But the thing is, I don't think he's the type. If we're going to believe what the of the type of players we've been linked with, Watkins is completely different style to them. So I'm not sure if that link is actually a serious one.
Calvert Lewin.
How would it fit in? I'd say that's a maybe as well. Oh, do you know what? I'll take both of them. If you, I wouldn't just be happy with Calvert Lewin. We need someone else as well. But you know
You got
what?
Highland.
I think he's leaving. I think he's leaving. There's interest in Italy, so I want. Listen, if we got Watkins and kept Hoyland, I'm all right with that.
Poor man's Darwin, as I told you many moons ago.
Yeah,
Um,
I
that
think
one.
completely. I think two completely different scenarios. I think that. No, look, don't get me wrong. Hoyland was shocking last season, but I actually do believe he was dealt a very, very difficult card at United. He was actually better the year before.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be many wanting that one, but I certainly wouldn't be happy with a Highland that I've seen. Thomas Partey
Yeah,
left Arsenal, been released.
yeah. 3 days later.
Obviously, we've got to tread very carefully on this one because
Yeah,
nothing definite.
no. Well, this is my view with this. Should he have been suspended whilst at Arsenal? If allegations were made and he wasn't charged whilst at Arsenal, I believe he shouldn't be suspended. He shouldn't because, like I say, they're allegations. Can't just suspend anyone on a rumor or on something that's not been proven.
Was that
But
very different to Mendy?
I'm not too sure what happened with Mendy. I think they suspended him once he was charged. But what I will say, with Greenwood was suspended 6 months before he was charged, but there was an audio tape and there was outrage, and I think United had no alternative. But what I will say that I find, and I can say this because I'm not saying Partey's guilty at all. He might well not be guilty. Hopefully he's not. But what I find quite suspicious and coincidental is we all knew what was going on here. It was, it
Well,
was
we
quite
knew what was being rumoured.
what was being rumoured, and that it involved Partey. So this has been going on for 2-3 years. So the name was out there, obviously not officially. But what I find very difficult to think that it's just a coincidence is his contract expired after all that time, that long investigation, and 3 days later they charge him.
Yeah.
Why was he not charged through before those, before his contract expired? And this is what I'm saying. And had he been charged whilst he was under contract at Arsenal, then he should have been suspended. Then he would have and should have been suspended. That is my take on
Well,
it. I just cannot I just find it too coincidental. 3 days after his contract expired, after a long investigation of or rumours that we've been hearing, and all of a sudden he's been charged. Arsenal saying they offered him a contract. Did they really, or is that
uh,
or is that just smokescreen? Why
let,
did he not sign that contract?
let's park.
Obviously, no one else is coming. So I'm not making any accusations. I'm just finding it quite
Let,
coincidental. That's all.
let's park that one there for now. But
Yeah,
yeah, obviously,
that's my view.
that was news in the football world this week. Let's just move on to something that we haven't got major interest in, but it'll be wrong
No.
not to mention it.
Yeah.
World Club Cup now down
Yeah.
to the last four.
It's a semi-final. Semi-final
Okay.
tomorrow. Fluminense versus Chelsea, the Brazilian club against Chelsea. England's only
Got any thoughts there?
team left. Um, I can't really comment too much because I haven't watched these two teams play in this competition. If I'm honest, I haven't seen much of Fluminense.
Thiago Silva still going strong, eh?
Yeah, and I saw something where he's really leading them there.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's due to face his old club tomorrow. So
He's actually got to go down as I don't know about the top centre backs, but there's it won't be far off, surely, right? With that career he's had,
oh,
illustrious.
he's had a brilliant career, long career, um, respectable career. No, he's done well. So no,
Yeah.
nothing but respect for him.
And
But
Chelsea marching on there, obviously. And then in the other semi-final, probably a bit more interest there, right? To a degree.
I would have liked this to be the final. PSG v Real Madrid. Obviously, PSG, brilliant football team. I didn't watch the game against Bayern, but from what I gather, it was very close. The
Yeah.
actual game was close, and it could have gone either way. That's what I've been told.
A moment of brilliance from Doué, who for me,
We spoke about him after the Champions League final.
yeah,
Fantastic
he's
player.
up there. I mean, if you
He,
want to talk top 3 to 5 youngsters in
yeah,
world football right now,
uh,
he's going to be up there with your Yamals and
and those two, I think,
yeah,
as things go, those two probably will emerge as the best two players in the world. Um,
yeah,
not long enough. I mean, quite soon.
yeah.
Um, but Real Madrid, I watched their game. I watched them play Borussia Dortmund. Started started on fire. That guy on the left, Frank Garcia. Wow, he was a man on a mission, and they started really well. I think they went a couple of goals ahead. Um,
Alonso,
yeah, but they did dip second half. Borussia Dortmund did come into the game second half, and at the end, they could have come back if it wasn't for a great save by Courtois.
yeah.
Unbelievable save, which was under his forearm. He saved it with. So they managed to go through. Not It looked like it was going to be a comfortable game against Borussia Dortmund, the way it started in the first half, especially. But it didn't turn out to be. But
That's,
really, really looking forward to that semi-final. I wish that was the final, actually.
and
PSG with
that's
Real Madrid.
that's trying to been Madrid's pitfall over the last year or 18 months, right? They seem to be conceding a lot of goals,
Yeah.
not not the controlled
No.
team
No.
they once were.
No.
I think that goes with age. I mean, look,
But was it? They didn't have that much of an old team out there.
yeah, for me though, it's largely built around Modric, Cruz,
It
and
was.
Casemiro.
It
Casemiro,
was.
give us who was in
It
there. But
was. Well, what
if you want to
midfield?
talk players to dictate games, then Modric and Casemiro, Modric and Cruz. Right, I mean, you'd be far-fetched
But
enough.
that was their midfield for God knows how many years, and it was a very, very successful team when they were there,
Yeah,
when they
they
were
were
playing together.
there.
Sorry, but yeah, that's always going to be difficult to replace. But it's not just that; it does feel like they give a lot of chances away. Um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting against PSG. I'm gonna predict PSG will go through.
Going to tune in?
Sorry.
Can we expect to see you tuning into that? You've been quite
Yeah, I'll be
vocal.
watching
You've
that.
been
If
quite
I'm
vocal
honest,
in saying that you're not watching this tournament.
I was. I never had an appetite for it. Super. Like you said, I think you once said on one of the podcasts, we need a break as well as fans. For me, the club season ended when the
Yeah.
Champions League final was over, and it was like I was done. I was just done with it. But
When do you start itching? I'd love to ask our listeners this actually. When do you start itching?
I think it's just once you see your players come into pre-season, like probably from this week,
Still
new
early though, right?
signings. No, it's still early. I'm not. It's not now. Like I don't particularly want to see United playing, but you start, thinking almost like last season's the past now, and you start thinking ahead. And I think that's when you start wanting to see how your team does and plays and comes together, new signings. But yeah, probably August, late July, August. I think that's
Yeah, I
when
was
you
gonna say
really.
for me,
That's when you.
1st of August hits
Yeah, yeah,
and you're in
yeah,
full flow.
yeah.
Right,
I'll
Banjo,
agree
we're
with that.
going to move on swiftly to our final part of the show.
Oh yes.
Three best. You chose Dutch Netherlands last week.
Yeah, I
So
did.
we are going to choose our three best Dutch players. I think let's go like,
There was lots to choose
oh,
from. I have to be honest. Some real great players they've had over the last. I'm talking in my lifetime over the
so
last 30, 40
who's
years.
on your list, and I'll tick them off
Well, you want to hear my list or?
without your three.
Oh, well, I was without my three. There was players coming to mind. Obviously, being a United fan, the Van Nistelrooys, but Edgar Davids, players of that type, Rijkaard, um, Schneider,
Yeah.
really good player. Really enjoyed him. Van Persie, Stam. Oh, I'm naming all the United boys, but Bergkamp. Some I didn't put him in, but they're littered all over the place. They've had some great players over the years. They really, really have.
So
Um,
if I might add to that, and I hope I'm not stealing into your thunder of your three because we
I've
haven't
picked three.
pre-discussed this.
I
But
picked three maybe because I've got a soft spot for them from when I
so for
growing up.
me,
Growing
I've
up,
got Koeman in there. I've got the De Boer brothers, who are
yeah.
fantastic players. Overmars,
Overmars, yes, of course.
Cliver. I mean,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, Clive.
they've always had fantastic players.
I think it's. I think now, obviously, I'm not talking about Van Dijk, but now they don't really have that selection of players like they used to. But they always had. I always remember, like when you're going into the tournaments, like the Euros or the World Cup, you look at the squads beforehand, and you always look at their squad. And think if they get it right, they could really win this. They never ever really did, apart from '88. But brilliant, brilliant.
So I mean, if I now just said Westerveld, Gravenberch, Zenden, we can finish this conversation, right? Top three.
You forgot Gatko.
Okay.
What about the other one? Who was the other forward you had? But he Dutch.
Well,
Yeah, the Dutch forward. What's his name?
we'll go for it. We'll go for it. I think I know you might be saying, but actually, let's do it now. So
All right, let's go.
let's go overrated players. I've got a couple of overrated. One I don't think was overrated, but I don't think he quite fulfilled.
Okay,
Um, and on there, I've got Ryan Babel.
that's the one. When I was saying who's the other one, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, he
thought it
came with a
might
big
be him that you
reputation,
were
didn't
alluding to.
he? Yeah, he came with a big reputation, didn't he? To
He was
Liverpool.
such a good direct player. Just he came up with some moments, but
Mm.
ultimately it just didn't happen for him. And I think it was a shame because I was really excited and he always threatened to come alive.
Why didn't
Yeah,
it happen for him?
yeah, don't
Just
know.
didn't have that X factor.
No, no, I was in that team with Torres was there and
Mm. Mm.
Gerard and it just did not happen for the lad. So he's one of my overrated. The other one who I don't know what the fuss was about, and I'm going to go over to your team with this one. That Van den Beek. What I don't. Can you
Oh
tell me
God.
more about that one that I don't know?
Do you know what? I never saw loads of him. He was part of that Ajax team which reached the semi final, which Spurs beat, I think, and he was lauded as one of their best players. I had a couple of friends, non United friends, I must add. What a signing! What a player! And I think it was just based on that, which I thought, wow, it looks like we've got a real player here. Until I watched him play. I mean, people saying he's not getting a chance, which he didn't. He did get a fair crack at it, but you have to wonder why. It must have been shocking in training. But then when he did play, you think, all right, give him a game or two. Just
It
don't.
didn't
Then
even
he
look good in those loan spells, right?
no. This is what I'm saying. Then he played a few games for us, and it's like, no, I'm gonna shit. I'll be straight. He's shit. And then he went off to Everton. You think, all right, maybe he's just not happening at United. Let's have a look. Maybe he could do a good loan spell and then come back. I just think that shit. He weren't good. I don't like hammering players, but I never saw anything. He was very, very average for me.
And a player like who threatens. Where do you sit with Memphis Depay?
That's
He
another one.
almost he's almost like a bad boy. I think Slightly better
I
career.
will
Granted, slightly better career than Bad
with it,
Watson.
yeah, with him, I'd say there was two categories to his career. He came with big reputation to United. I think it was from Lyon, wasn't it?
From
Um,
Leon, yes.
yeah, and big reputation. And he looked in the early few months. There were signs where I thought, "Wow, we look like we've got a player here." I can't remember who it was. He played in Europe and he scored 2 goals, really good goals as well. And I thought, "Wow, we've got a player here." They gave him the number 7 shirt as well, I think. And it was like, okay. And then he found himself out the side, and it wasn't really happening. And then he moved on. Wasn't too disappointed that he moved on because you think it's just not happening here. Um, but then his career kind of like resurrected a bit, and he ended up Barcelona scoring goals. But he's kind of like he just dipped again after.
And he
I
had all
don't
the
know if
attributes, didn't he?
he did. He was strong. He was direct. I think he was technically
Pace,
very good. Yeah,
could
pace.
shoot,
But
just
and
didn't.
I'm thinking more now. His later career after United. And I thought, oh wow, it's not a bad option. I think he started playing number 9 as well, and he was doing all right at Barca. But then I did question it when when they I think it was the World Cup. Was it the World Cup? And he wasn't in the side, and Weghorst was ahead of him. I'm thinking maybe he's not like why would what's going on here? And then he just dipped again. He's just gone off the radar. So
Mhm.
it's a strange one, but clearly he wasn't. He was. I don't. I actually. He was good in fits and spurts. I think that over his career.
Okay,
Well, and that's yeah, basically.
let's go with your number three.
My number 3 was a player. Um, I thought he, he was very cultured, brilliant passer of the ball, read the game fantastically well. Um, Scored the goal, which won his team the European Cup for the first time. And thinking back, he wasn't blessed with great pace. I don't think he was particularly a brilliant defender, even though he played as a defender. But he was almost modern type. I think if he played in the game today, he would have been outstanding, especially in Europe. So the guy I'm going for is a European Championship winner in '88, Ronald Koeman. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, okay.
That's my third.
And obviously, Koeman, I think I read a stat earlier when I was doing my research on this. Highest scoring defender in,
Yeah, yeah. This is what I'm saying.
in
So he kind of like
record scoring
the
defender,
yeah,
moved from midfield into defence, and yeah, very
like
good
when
player.
a
I mean,
textbook. It wasn't a textbook defender, was he? He was very different, but brilliant,
so I'll
fantastic,
steal
great
your
passer.
thunder slightly because it was on my maybe list that I called out earlier.
Oh, okay.
My number three, and yes, I know what you're going to say, but
Liverpool.
it's going to be a Liverpool player. But number three for me, Van Dijk.
Oh wow, you never put him number
Um,
one.
no, number three, number three. I'm not biased. I've told you many a time, I'm not biased. Um, Look, I've said before, when I'm doing this exercise with the countries that have got the players that would allow, and they've got the variation and the top players, and Netherlands are clearly one of those. I'm looking at players that if I had to name an all-time in our lifetime, which is what we agreed, best 11, this player, and Van Dijk is going to be up there. He's
Okay.
quick, he's strong, powerful in the air, but the biggest thing above all, he's a proper leader. Proper leader. You want a player to control a defence, marshal a defence, because when he came to Liverpool, it was almost instant.
Yeah.
The impact
Yeah.
he had on that defence was almost instant.
And that's
He-
why Liverpool waited for
yeah, he would make me and you look like good defenders, I reckon, Banjo.
him.
If we went and played next to him, I think people would be saying, "Oh, that Super and Banjo can play a bit." Um, So, yeah, Van Dijk was my number three, much to your surprise because you thought it'd be higher. Um,
Yeah.
where's your number two?
I think we're going to have the same two here, actually.
Okay.
My number 2 was, it was a joy to watch as a kid. It was one of those where, because he looked different with his hair and everything like that, and it just was one of those footballers which you just love to watch and talk about. But what I loved about him, not only was a goal scorer, scored some lovely goals, great goals, played for a great AC Milan team, won the European Championships with Holland at the time as well. And what I loved about it, I just thought he had great balance and grace the way he played. When he had the ball at his feet, it was just brilliant. So yeah, and when he moved on to Chelsea, and he was great there as well as a sweeper. He was almost a player who could play. He epitomised the total football because he was almost like he could play anywhere up front, midfield, on the left of midfield, or in defence. So yeah, the guy, I don't want to keep going on, but it's Rudhulik.
Bruce Hullet, yeah, really, really good player. And yeah, you've said it. We did have the same number two there.
Yeah,
Hullet for me was, like I said, growing up, he was a player. He just class.
yeah,
When I talk about classy players, like you said, the hair, like that, like Carlos Valderrama,
yeah.
looked a bit different with that hair. Um, Managed to fall out with Alan Shearer at Newcastle as well, obviously. Yeah, not many can claim to do that,
No,
but he did. But yeah, clearly number two player there. Number one, I've got a feeling this one might be the same too.
I think it's going to be the same, isn't it? It's got if he's not in your top three as third or second, or mine, he's got to be number one, and that's Marco van Basten. What
Yeah,
a player! Um, just brilliant. I mean, he retired, I think, at 27 due to injuries, which was so unlucky. I think he was a double Ballon d'Or winner as well. Again, part of that great AC Milan team and the Dutch team, which won the European Championships in '88. But he was just a phenomenal striker. I think he was the complete number nine. There's nothing he couldn't do as a number nine. Holding the ball up, bringing others into the game. His finishing was outstanding. He could run behind defenses. He could come deep and use the ball. He was great frame, great in the air, left foot, right foot, outstanding striker. If you ever wanted to have a textbook striker with a bit more, that's Marco van Basten.
who could forget that volley, eh?
In the against it was in the final, wasn't it?
I believe it was. Yeah, Russia was it?
Russia, yeah. Arnold Muir,
Lovely.
an old United boy, crossed it for him. But what a
Dasaev, if
goal.
I remember right, one of the great
Yeah, it was
keepers of the
Rinat
game as well.
Dasaev goal. Yeah, it was Russia in the final. Yeah, what a goal. I
And
mean,
then I remember AC Milan, the overhead kick near the edge of
yes,
the
in
box.
that was in the Champions League, and that
Champions
may have
League
been
game.
against, was that against Gothenburg? I
I
think it
think
might
it
be. I
was.
think
I
he got
think
a
there was
hat
a,
trick
he
in
might
that
have even
game.
got a hat trick that game. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's funny how things stick in your mind, isn't it? After all these years,
it
but he was
does.
phenomenal. It,
300
it,
career goals, 28 years old, 218 and 280 for Ajax and Milan. A
bloody hell.
couple of Ballon d'Ors in there.
And let's be honest, it wasn't easy scoring in the Serie A in in those
No,
days with those
definitely
defenses,
not.
and he was getting great numbers. Phenomenal, phenomenal player. I don't think what upsets me about Van Basten, or what upsets me regarding him, is these younger players allowed, all these players who they think, younger fans who think, oh, he's brilliant. And some of these players just couldn't lace people like Van Basten's boots. I mean, I would love it if they will go back on YouTube and just have a look at this player.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
yeah, definitely. And the other thing, obviously, it's not ignorance, but we did specify we are going to be looking at our lifetime. We're not
Yes.
ignorant.
No. If we're
Cruyff,
gonna,
because
yeah,
Cruyff obviously
obviously
deserved.
Johan Cruyff will probably be number one if you were to ask any Dutchman or anyone of an older age. He's just, I think that goes without saying. And I think I will say this about Johan Cruyff. I think he's the man who influenced football more than anybody in the history of the game.
Barcelona apparently played a big part there with what they've
He was
done.
part of that AX team as well, and
Yeah.
obviously his coaching, his restructuring of Barcelona, and what led to that after. And I think it's massively influenced over Pep and what
And
Pep's doing now.
and he's got a move named after him, the Cruyff turn.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's called the quarter turn. I bet your kids are doing it and they don't even know why they're saying the quarter turn. But yeah, no. When you've got a skill after yourself, you know you've done
Not a
something.
bad job, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, brilliant.
well, after your Gyokeres thing, maybe people will get renowned with the banjo turn. But anyway, uh, banjo, I think that brings us to an end for the week.
Yeah. Okay.
Next week,
Brilliant.
I think I'm going to choose a country next week.
Okay, go for it.
France.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
See, with France as obviously the great team from the 2000s onwards, or late 90s, should I say, and then but there was a great team in the 80s as well. So that's a
Well,
very good one. I'll get thinking.
get thinking.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time, Banjo.
You too. Enjoy your holiday.
Lovely. Thanks, Banjo. We'll
Thank you.
speak soon.
Take care.